Welcome, 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 everyone, to another Imposter Kings game. This is match number 7, lower bracket quarterfinals between Vlow and Papaya.
Hey everyone, I hope you've gotten hype. This is the last match of this exciting Royal Rumble weekend. A lot of Imposter Kings action this weekend. Hope some of you had a chance to enjoy that 2v2 super chaotic slam last night. We're back into the tournament this morning. As Simbu mentioned, it's Vlow and Papaya both seeking to win their way into the lower bracket semifinals.
And just like last time, there is, as I call them, the gatekeeper. We have someone from the upper bracket fighting against someone who started in the lower bracket. So we have Vlow, who I think barely lost. Let's look at the bracket real fast. Barely lost against Goose, 7-5. Has been knocked out to the lower bracket, where he's now facing Papaya. And both of them are really strong players in their own right, both analytical players. What do you think is going to happen here, Dan?
It'll be interesting. Again, they are both strong analytical players. They both play, I wouldn't say textbook Imposter Kings, though they do play definitely with those analytical lines. But oftentimes, every now and then, that's what, again, is the strategy of establishing a pattern, is they'll deviate from that pattern in a way that can take them to victory because you can wrong foot your opponent, do what they least expect, and oftentimes that's the edge between victory and defeat when the playing level is this good.
And that's definitely true. And the winner of this goes up against Yeti. As we saw yesterday, Drip dropped Dando, and Yeti was able to come away with a 7-1 victory. They will fight each other to see whether it's going to be another brother match between Yeti and Goose, or if it's going to be the winner of this match who goes ahead and fights against Goose. So let's go ahead and let's get into the stadium and see what's going on.
All right, we're heading now into Imposter King Stadium where the first hands have already been dealt. And we can see the first hands here for Papaya and Vlow. An interesting arrangement of cards indeed,
Yeah.
with Vlow having the Fool, Papaya the Assassin, and Royalty evenly split.
That's right, and the true king here is Vlow. So Vlow is going to be the one who decides who gets to go first. Looks like Vlow allows Papaya to go first. As we know, out of most players in the entire tournament, Papaya really does not like going first. But at this hand, it's not a bad hand to go first with because he's got the double Inquisitor there. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because Vlow has a really strong, just a strong, value hand. And I think a lot of players would choose to go first as Vlow because you got that judge into soldier, and then you just have a lot of high numbers to bludgeon with. But I'm curious to see what his strategy is here. Maybe he's read that Papaya likes to go first and is just trying to put him off edge. We go straight into a Queen's Hand call out from the Inquisitor. That's a
That's
standard
right.
play.
As expected, when you have the Assassin to try to get the King's Hand out of your opponent's hand, if I'm Vlow, I'm in trouble here because I don't have any other countermeasures for an Assassin at this point, having lost my King's Hand.
And what's really interesting is that Papaya then immediately went into a 9, trying to play that pressure. If Vlow counters with his own 9, it's going to be I mean, that's the only option he has, right? Because of the assassin. It's going to disgrace the king's hand. And as you mentioned, that's going to rid him of the ability to pick up the king's hand to help himself against the assassin. This is actually a really fast and strong play from Papaya. He sees this line very quickly.
That's right. Things have moved very fast. We saw Vlow burned his Fool. Papaya doesn't know that. And so another reason to force the Queen out is to try to burn cards, expecting maybe a Fool play for the King's Hand. Now, Vlow does have the Sentry to pick up a King's Hand. I think Vlow saw he didn't have an Oathbound and decided to get rid of it, but there it is. So an Elder from Vlow now on the Princess. If you're Papaya, you do have a chance to Inquisit again now. And do you go to Inquisit to try to diminish Vlow's options, or do you go some other direction?
I mean, if he wants to guarantee a win here, I feel like he can just call or play the Warlord. And then at that point, Vlow has to play the Queen or flip. If he flips, he loses 3 points. If he plays the Queen, then Papaya flips, and Papaya then has a dominant hand, except for that Sentry. The thing is that you can call out the Sentry early. You can force out you can Inquisit the Queen out as well. There's a couple of different strategies that Papaya can take here. He does have that safety. There it is. He's gonna call for the queen. I think this is a safe way to win this hand. And the thing that he has to worry about, obviously, is the sentry. He does have an Oathbound to get around that sentry. So I think Papaya's got this one in the bag. But as I mentioned, there is some debauchery that could be played here.
That is absolutely true. Now, if you're Vlow, so Vlow's got a blank. He's going to play the judge, calls out Oathbounds, it's a safe call to deploy the battery.
So now Papaya has to play a 7. He has to save his Oathbound. And this is what I was saying, is that it's close to a victory for Papaya to go this way. I'm not fast enough to get the line. Oh, I love that. He uses the Mystic to counter playing the 8. So
Yeah,
now
I mean
he's
it's
safe. Yeah.
yeah, smart play there because you're right, no risk of leaving the dangling card because of the judge. And so up soldier now out at 7. We'll see likely a warlord play into the now diminished sentry. Papaya will counter with the Oathbound, and that will be a 2-point win for Papaya because Vila has no other options, has to flip. There comes the new animation
I love
of
how
the assassin.
they're literally following what you're saying. That's how. But I mean, both players kind of knew what was going on. If it wasn't for that Mystic being able to hit the 8s, at this point it would have been really dangerous for Papaya. He would have had to play Oathbound into Assassin. Then Vila would have flipped, and it would have been just a 2-point victory to Vila. But because he kind of had the foresight of knowing exactly how to play that hand, we see a 2-point early victory to Papaya.
That's right. Now, I think the pivotal moment in this match was Vlau deciding for Papaya to go first because
Right.
one vulnerability in Vlau's hand, he did not have the assassin, and the only assassin countermeasure that he had was the king's hand, which Papaya promptly fished out of his hand with the opening Inquisitor play. If
Right.
you're looking back at this hand, do you think Vlau made a mistake in going first or going second here?
Oh, well, I think that if he was going to do this, he might have. He needed to figure out a way that he could have dealt with the assassin either through power playing or, yeah. I think it's a really tough decision without actually going through each of the lines. I think you're right. Calling out this king's hand. What I love about Papaya's play is that he then goes into princess to prevent the sentry from being able to pick it up, and then after Vilao counters with the elder, he then fishes out the queen, and the queen sometimes is more hindrance to your hand than it is a benefit, because in this case the queen disgraced everything, and once all those things are disgraced, then Vilao has no way to deal with that assassin.
So there
So
you have it. A great opening hand. Papaya drawing first blood here, 2-zip. Vila will remain the true king. And okay. Fascinating distribution here. Vila with the 6-1 and Papaya. Well, actually, Vila with both the assassin and the 6-1. Papaya with the 8s.
yep. This is one of those classic hands. You see that he has not only just the 8s, but he also has a 9 and a 7. That's a pretty powerful hand for Papaya. Now it's gonna have to be up to Vlau to do some tricky stuff with his hand in order to be able to succeed here. This is a tough one, I think, regardless, because he has no ability to, um, I guess, just manage with the bludgeoning force of what Papaya has to bring. He's deciding to go first. I think he has to, and I think what he has to do is essentially just play really high value cards, or high value meaning 5 or higher, to prevent Papaya from being able to use any of its Inquisitors.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and again to drive the boat, as it were, by just keeping the numbers high, because right, Papaya has a hand that's very strong if you are going first with the Judge and Dual Inquisitor, but Vilao again being the true king, could effectively maintain tempo as long as he can keep it up high where those aren't deployable.
That's right. So are you thinking that there's going to be a 5 play, a soldier play at the beginning, or do you think that he's just
I
going to?
think so, and I think he's got to hit. I think it's very important that
Yeah,
he hit with the soldier because otherwise Papaya is going to counter with the judge, and it's as if Papaya did go first then.
yeah.
So we'll see. In maybe not. Papaya just successored the judge.
Interesting.
But still, I think it'll be important for Vila to hit that soldier if he leads off there with it.
Yeah, I wonder why he successored the judge. Usually, when you do something like that, that means you don't have a confidence in your judge being it's you use the judge late game for essentially surviving, but in this case, yeah, I wonder what he's thinking there. I guess
Oh,
maybe if he had the success or something, it would be either the Inquisitor or the Judge. So he asks for Inquisitor, gets it right, doesn't disgrace anything, obviously. He's now got a 7 on the field. So now if you're
yeah.
Papaya, what do you do?
Yeah, so if you're Papaya here, so you're playing on a 7. And I mean the if you really want to push and punish, knowing that Vlow may have thrown the Elder way, one thought is to go right into a princess. Just let the leather fly on the big numbers. But instead,
Interesting.
he's
He
going to
goes with
play
the.
Sentry.
It's interesting that he evaluated Sentry over Warlord here. So maybe thinking that he's actually going to get the Warlord to come out and play as a threat. Now this is tough for Vlow. This is what Goose always calls the Queen and the Fool are oil and water, right? And so you have to be really careful with Vlow because if the Queen goes against you, which might be the theme of this game, then he's going to be really hard for him to use the Fool effectively. And I think he has to nail the Fool in order to be successful in this game.
Yeah, I think full play will determine success here. I mean, nominally he could play 6-1 to pick up a soldier. That would be an odd play, but we'll see. He is going to play 6 into something, and he does. He 6-1s, and presumably, oh, that's right. He can't pick a soldier up. 6-1 would pick the Oathbound back up, and
Well, he chose the soldier. I'm surprised he chose the soldier over the Oathbound, but maybe he's looking for value there. It's not like
interest.
he knows that Vlow does not have any Oathbounds of their own. So I'm wondering why he picked up the soldier instead of the Oathbound there,
Yeah, I
based on the
mean,
cards that are
again,
being shown.
yeah, it is a curious play, especially with the sentry no longer around. There's no picking things up at this point. All of the cards that retrieve cards from the throne have now been used. So it
I
is a
would
bit
have liked to see an
interesting.
Oathbound there also to counter the judge later on too. But as long as he hits with his soldier, it's the same. So
So intriguing. Okay, so a fascinating back and forth. Right, numerically, it doesn't make that big of a difference because Vila has both Oathbound, so the difference between 5 and 6 is not much in terms of playability.
okay, it looks like Papaya is
So,
now trying to push his advantage here. I think he's trying to get a 3 point here. Because if he was playing it safe, he pulls with the Inquisitor. He pulls just the Queen. But
right now, if you allow, you know that he likely has a king's hand. So trying to play out the string for assassin isn't going to win you the hand likely, although it will change the value arrangement of the cards by pulling out the king's hand at the expense of the assassin. Okay, so he's going to Oathbound again, and we'll see. Oathbound and the soldier and forcing
Inquisitor,
Papaya to play in a 7.
yeah, it's very interesting.
This has been an extremely interesting hand with a lot. The branching is so wide at the beginning that it's hard to foresee what can happen because
And
this one
that
does
in,
not have an obvious route.
and that Inquisitor is going to be really dangerous for Papaya. Papaya's just going to be able to hit anything out of Vilau's hand, and that could spell him doom. For example, if the Inquisitor hits the Queen and his king is flipped, there's nothing else that Vilau could do. So
Oh, so Papaya burns the king's hand now,
I
so
think he's
leaving,
confident that he's got a 3 point hand here.
yeah, would it appear to be. Um,
That Inquisitor is just going to be pivotal. So if Vilau flips, that Inquisitor calling out the Queen spells doom.
That's exactly right. So VLI only has two eligible plays. One is the king flip, the other is just play the queen now. Uh, and given that VLI does not have an elder, um, yeah, this he does the king flip. So up there, Inquisits out the assassin.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, it just might
Apparently,
be it might be safe. Well, he's got the Elder in hand. I was gonna say it might be just a safe play with his Princess swap.
interesting. Wow. Okay. It might have been, the line you were describing of 3 point win. Papaya may not have seen it or might have thought that Vlau had an elder of his own. Because remember, that is the face down burn card, and thus saw this a different way. And I think the Elder being a face down burn card is pivotal here because, yeah, if you're Papaya, you do not think the Princess is going to club a victory out of this hand because you anticipate Vlow maybe having the Elder, and that would be a different dynamic here.
Yeah, I mean, if he inquisits out the queen and then plays the princess, and then Vila played his elder, the Papaya would have still been able to play the elder and win with a 3 point hand there, assuming that he had the assassin. So again, we have clairvoyance, which makes it a lot easier for us, but that was a valid line for him to play. He could have inquisited out the queen. If he had missed the inquisitor on the queen, I'm trying to wonder whether how bad it would be. It seems like it would be pretty bad. So he flips on the assassin. And now Vila should know exactly what he has. So now he has enough hand power to be able to swap something that he doesn't want, which is that judge. And there you go.
Okay, and so with
Yeah.
that, it's a guaranteed, it's a 2 point victory for Papaya in a wild hand that had so many branching possibilities. It's almost hard to analyze because this one, when it had a predictable, I shouldn't say predictable beginning, but a conventional beginning. But the moment that 6-1 came out so early, I feel like everything else from this became a very hard hand to predict.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like he was trying to go for one of those games where you try to minimize your loss. But I think the pivotal point for Papaya here is that he had to make a decision, and his decision was to go for the assassin. Because if he didn't go for the assassin, this could have been a 3 point swing over to Vlau. Although going through the line, I think this is something I'll have to look at afterwards. I think that it would have been safe for him to call Queen, assuming that he had Elder in hand. I didn't go through the whole line. I know Papaya is a very smart player, so I assume that he's already actually thought through all those. But I think it's good for him to actually just guarantee the 2 point hand, and he does so using the princess swap at the end there. And when the princess has two other cards in its ammunition, you can always give him the bad card. And in this case, he gave him the judge. So.
Yeah, it's exactly it's again, if you look back at this, again, we have clairvoyance, so we don't, and oftentimes it can often be hard to anticipate these hands without that clairvoyance involved. But I've got to think both players are going to look back at that one and think what could have been.
Yeah,
Potentially either getting a 3 point win out of Papaya or Vila, thinking I had a path to victory, I just didn't get it.
and as you
So
said,
we,
there's a lot of different lines, so that's always the most interesting hands for Imposter Kings is what lines do you run and how do you actually take the risks that are necessary based on what could be the first face down burn.
yeah, bingo. So here, hand number 3 with Papaya up 4-0. Vila still a true king. And Papaya, again, an odd arrangement. Papaya's got the Fool, but no Oathbound to pair with it. Vila, I'd say, has got the much beefier hand with the Assassin, the Princess, and some of the higher end cards with no King's hand available. And Vilau's going first here, deciding to push it. Despite not having Inquisitor, he does have the Judge, and that will likely be his leadoff. Cena or Simbu, do you think we've got a battery opening opportunity here?
The battery's been debunked, it looks like, but it does seem actually pretty good. You don't have a card on the other side or a flip that there's actually quite a lot of good openings here. And again, we're going to see that multifaceted opening strategy here. This is actually kind of interesting for me because the thing I was thinking about and the reason why I'm pausing here is that it might be that Papaya, I don't know. I guess he's going second. He does have the queen and the fool, but this might be a mulligan actually, because especially with the momentum that he has right now, it's not a great hand, especially if you're going second. I feel like, if Vlau is astute and able to pull the queen just like in the first game, and then he can flip on the queen, that's going to limit Papaya quite greatly on that fool. He doesn't have an Inquisitor to pull it, but that pressure, just having that pressure up, I think this is probably a mulligan hand, but we'll see.
I think you're right. I'm looking at Vila just threw his assassin away. I agree. If I'm Papaya up 4-0, this is a hand that I would mulligan because there's a very real possibility of a 3 point loss here. Bilal,
And he did it.
might never let me play a card that's meaningful. It leads off with the Judge. I have to burn one of my few high cards in the Soldier just to get through. And then And then I'm gonna have to play on a soldier 7 most likely. So there goes my warlord or a king flip, and I might be doing that into an assassin. I'm looking at this and thinking this is likely a 3-point loss, and he did. He chucked it.
Yep. I think that was probably a good decision. And again, it's that momentum thing too. I would not want to lose that momentum. Now, we're getting close to an Exodia hand here. We have Papaya has both nines, an Elder, and Oathbound. Vila has an Oathbound, and unbeknownst to both of them, the Elder's chucked away. So, um, really careful decision making here for Vila is necessary. He does have the King's Hand. He does have the Assassin. So, and he does have some of the other good support cards here.
Okay, so a mulligan now Vlow into, well, it's an interesting arrangement. So actually, if I'm Vlow, this is a very concerning hand, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it's one card away from the Exodia hand. Again, for those of you not familiar with the Exodia hand, it's where one side has both royalty, and the other side does not have any Oathbounds or Elders to play on those royalty. Vlow has one Oathbound, so instantly most of your hand is played because you have to use that Oathbound on a royalty card or you will lose the double royalty.
Yeah, and I think that this is interesting. There's two ways you can play this. He decides to go first. One is you keep your Oathbound in your hand, and if they try to Inquisit it, you King's Hand it. The other is that you pocket your Oathbound and hope that they call for that. Now, what's really funny about this for Papaya is that, so he decides to put his Assassin away. What's really interesting with Papaya here is that if he decides to nail the Elder, he's actually going to be revealing that the Elder's not available. I like this play. So Vilo starting with just an Inquisitor, grabs the Queen, flips the Queen, or flips the King, gets rid of the first one. Now, as long
Yeah,
as he
with
has the
no
Oathbound in
full
hand, he's
play.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, Velo playing as if Papaya has the full, which he does. And now here you've got a clean slate and nothing to play the fool on. Always satisfying when you can get that. But now Papaya does have an Inquisitor, plays it, goes for the Assassin.
King's hands it.
Velo King's hands it. Yep, exactly. Knowing that that's the out for this hand. And gears and gears. And now Papaya with another play, still nothing to pick up with the fool. Do you just go and, well, actually, a princess play wins the hand, wins the match, actually, right
No,
now.
no, no. Vilo still has his Oathbound.
Oh, right. Sorry, you are absolutely right.
That's the Inquisitor had to either hit the Assassin or the Oathbound, and he had a King's hand for both of those.
That's right. So, you're right, because Oathbound is the out, but boy, this is a high wire act. But VLL still has a very real chance of winning this hand, too.
Yes. I think Vilo has it just because he has lots of sevens he can play. And if he hits that Mystic on like a really powerful card, it's actually going to be really powerful too. Meaning,
Yeah,
either use it on the Oathbound or actually you can't use it on the Oathbound. That's funny. Never mind. He just has to use it for numbers. Ignore what I'm saying.
yeah, right. He can't hit his own Oathbound, which would be, again, he has to use that Oathbound on the princess. There is no, it's his only valid play on the princess. Now, fortunately for him, uh, Papaya doesn't really, I think, have a way of forcing out the Oathbound early with how the hand structure is right now.
Yeah,
Um, so that is a saving grace because Papaya literally has, well, I suppose there is one way. No,
I
no,
think
because
the
yeah,
line right now is that Papaya plays a soldier, gets his assassin, gets a seven. Vilo has to play a seven. Let's say Warlord. Then Papaya is going to 6-1 grab the soldier back. Vila will hit the soldier. At that point, Papaya will have to hit with his princess. And then there will be a 6-7. And he'll have enough power to be able to overpower Papaya. So right now it's looking like a 2-point victory for Vilo, depending on my how good my evaluation is. I'm always off by one card, but I think it's 5-7, and then 6-1, 5. I guess he can 6-1 grab the 6 again. That won't help either. And then if he swaps, he's not going to swap anything valuable. So yeah, based on my evaluation right now, which is notoriously bad, it looks like this is a Vilo 2-pointer.
you know what's amusing is you'll notice that this is a long turn right now for Papaya. He's probably doing exactly what you were doing right now. So just
Yeah.
trying to see all the lines through the end of the game. And so
So
up, first step is right. There's the soldier, guessing assassin. Papaya confirming that Vlow has the assassin, which he already knew because he king's handed the Inquisitor earlier.
so
Nothing to
Vlow is
disgrace.
gonna warlord because he's gonna listen to what I said.
Yep,
Yes.
there it is. All right. So
Now it's
far,
gonna be
so
six
good.
6-1 into the 5.
Yep. Yeah. Papaya
I'm now like
almost
blinking
certainly.
I'm blinking on my screen to try to
Yeah.
really summon the
So
reality to
yeah,
happen.
Papaya, probably not going to flip king on this because he knows Bilal has the assassin. So he's not going to flip king on this. He's got
Just
to do an oathbound. And, logically, he wouldn't oathbound into his princess. I suppose he's probably thinking about whether he does want to oathbound in the princess. Um, Not
well, I mean, you could
quite.
just play the princess. You mean Oathbound into Fool.
Sorry, yes. Well, it'd be an intriguing maneuver here. Yeah, you got to get rid of your fool. Sorry, that would be a really silly move. Unless you wanted to trade your fool away. Um,
He does go with the princess with ability.
okay, Prince's ability. Gonna guess he's gonna trade the fool here.
It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, now in that trade, so Vilaw's gonna have a fool. I would guess that Vilaw's is just gonna give him his soldier back.
I think so.
Yep, that's exactly the trade that happens. And so now Vilal, yep, has to use the Oathbound and does, and can 6-1 pick up the Warlord. Things looking very desperate for Papaya now. And yeah, if I'm Papaya, options are looking pretty short. I think, yeah, he's headed. I mean, this I think is guaranteed to be a 2-point loss at this point.
Correct.
Yep, there's the soldier. Boosts it to a 7. The Warlord comes back out again. Papaya has to flip. And there it is. The first time we see the assassin animation going the other direction from south to north there. And yeah, Vlau picks up 2 points on a very interesting, well fought hand.
Yeah, and I think again, going to the beginning of it, it's just that Inquisitor into Queen. Pull the Queen fast, flip your King. Now you've got enough ammunition to kind of go with what you were going with here. And I think at the end there, that Papaya was taking that long time. He was thinking through all the things we were thinking about. If he continued the line that I had, he would have lost. So he did something different. He played the princess, and tried to do a swap. I think he was just trying to see if there's any way he can get out of this, assuming maybe that the Oathbound was the face down card rather than the Elder. And if that was the case, that fool would be useless to Vlow. So I think that was a good heads up play where Papaya was kind of playing the odds in his favor, but he was going to lose regardless. So it's a 2 point. A 2 point is a 2 point, So
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I think one of the Imposter King's conventional wisdom things is if you have a near Exodia hand and the True King, so you're one card off from the Exodia hand, you have the True King, the convention is you go first, and while you have tempo, you've got to get one of the royalty cards dispatched with while you are controlling the hand. And that's exactly what he did there. And it worked out perfectly. He managed to get the queen out of the way. And then on that basis, sustained tempo, and then was able to use that tempo and his otherwise strong remainder of his hand to get the 2-point win that was in the cards there.
and
So excellently done, but
it certainly helps that he had the King's hand. I think that's one of the keys of this Exodia thing is that if you can guarantee to pull the Queen, then that's great. So
bingo.
that
Yeah,
King's hand I think really helped Papaya there.
bingo. Exactly right. So, all right, we go into the next hand. And an intriguing distribution on this one. Papaya with both royalty and both oathbounds. Vlow with both eights and both elders. Papaya does not have either of the special cards, the Fool and the Assassin. Vlow has both.
Yeah, this is one of those who's the true king. It's Papaya, and that was because it makes it a lot. It makes it really interesting. If you can get those elders out of Vilau's hand, then he's got Exodia. He doesn't have the Mystic, so he can't just Mystic threes. But I think this is one of those situations where, again, it's just pressuring. You get enough of these hands from Vilau's side. This is now the second time that he's facing Exodia.
Well,
He
he's
just
got
has to.
both. So critical thing here is he's got both, and he knows the Papaya can have at most one Inquisitor. So we can't just, do Inquisitor Elder, Inquisitor Elder. Granted, he could King's Hand that, but you know that there's only one of those two that he can forcibly extract from the hand. So, the Exodia risk is there, but it's not foregone. He does have countermeasures.
That's right. And I think it's interesting because he can do something similar. He doesn't have the Inquisitor to be able to pull the Queen, but if he can somehow get one of those royalty out quickly so he can flip, that's going to make his life a lot easier. Now, if he can get Papaya to flip, he knows he won't lose the match. So Papaya decided to allow Vlow to go first. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, Papaya throws away the judge, put another kind of conventional zealot successor play. Now, Vlow, this is not a terrible hand. It's got both eights. You do have a King's Hand assassin combination. This is a hand you could potentially win with. This hand would be a lot better if it had an Oathbound, that's for sure, because of the Fool.
Yep.
I would be actually curious to see if he maybe even throws the Fool away because of the anti-synergy between the assassin and the Fool. And he's got to burn something, and I think he needs all the beef he can keep in this hand. But it's not necessarily a loser, and I'd be thinking here of maybe even what would happen if I Mystic sixes in this hand. He does throw the Fool away, or some other play, and of course he tucks one Elder away.
If he threw away an Elder and kept the Fool, I'd be so hype right now. I just think going first and having the Fool, you have to hit the Fool. That's what this meta has become. And so
that's right. So interesting. All right. So Vlow, his only reasonable opening card is the Soldier. Knows the Papaya almost certainly has an Oathbound, just wants to get it to 7, and he does.
would have been great if he just disgraced it so he can use his Mystic later, but
I was thinking about that exact play, and I was thinking,
It's
what
terrible.
does he give up by having Papaya do a blank play? And the answer is, well, he gives up an Inquisitor play.
yeah.
But we'll see what Papaya reacts with. Interesting. I mean, for Papaya, this might be a slow turn because you've got a beef advantage potentially. But yeah, what to do here? This play, I think, will determine the entire shape of this hand.
It really will, because if he plays the Warlord here, then Vlow can counter with a Mystic, not using its ability if he doesn't want to, and that'll be difficult for Papaya to not play one of his royalty on. I think he also wants to keep the Warlord threat around. Despite it being one of the most situational cards in the game, I think in this hand it's going to be really powerful. He can also throw the Queen right now. I'm not sure whether Papaya probably thinks he has the Fool.
Well, the thing about the Warlord has tremendous synergy with having the Zealot in your hand. Because Elders don't work on a beefed up Warlord. Okay, so 6/4s into the Inquisitor to get the Elder, and so there we go. And
Princess
now,
no ability.
Yeah, now Vlow has to king flip. Now, wisely, he tucked away his other Elder, so he's not Exodia'd to death. He still has one card left to answer Papaya's Queen. And Papaya going hard after those Elders, I think maybe hoping it was the face down burn or that Vlow threw one away. There it is. Okay, and Vlow now is going to use that other Elder. Once you see that other Elder hit the table, if you're Papaya, do you feel, well, no, he's got it. Because, and that's it. That's the match.
I was watching that happen as you were talking through the whole thing. I was just like, that Warlord is real dangerous right now.
Yeah, again, the Warlord, what's unique about it, if you can get it out with the buff, is that Elders don't work on it. The cards that work on it are Oathbounds and Zealots, and Papaya had both Oathbounds and had the Zealot, so there was absolutely nothing that Vlow could do on that besides the king flip. So once Papaya got the Elder out of Vilau's hand and forced Vlow to do the king flip to take care of a royalty card, all that was necessary from that point was to get the Warlord out. That's what Papaya did. Tremendous vision there to see that as the opportunity.
I like this. One of the chat members said, looked up Exodia expecting some deep literary reference. Nope, Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, you guys should know better at this point that anything I'm referencing is always Yu-Gi-Oh. So, but yeah, no. Again, we have just saw that happened pretty fast, which I think was really cool. I think I mean, I would have wished to see more games between these two, but the Warlord is really underplayed, I think, in this game, and are undervalued in terms of its potential. And I think Papaya kind of grasps that, hey, you know what? I have two royalty, but I also have this Warlord. And I think maybe as Vlow, with the resources you had, it might have been that you take the safe mulligan, take the 2 points. I'm not sure how the lines would have changed there, but I'm going to have to analyze this one later to see whether there was an out for him there.
Yeah, I mean, again, being down 4-2, you can take a safe 2-point mulligan, and maybe that was it. Although Theo's hand didn't look bad.
It didn't look bad at
Again,
all.
Papaya spotted something, and you're right that the Warlord is slept down in the meta. It's basically like a stock 7, and every great now and then the end game it can tilt things a bit because of its ability, but it has these synergies about the fact that you can't deal with a buffed warlord the way you deal with normal royalty because elders are useless on it. And so this was exactly the hand where the warlord shines because Vilau's countermeasures to royalty were elders. And Vilau had to shepherd those elders against both royalty cards in Papaya's hand, didn't have the zealot. This is exactly the situation where the warlord is just a killer card because Vilau had no answers besides a king flip.
That's right.
And that's what made it unique and effective here. And again, Papaya made I'd say almost like a championship level play to spot the fact that the Warlord was the pivotal card of this hand and to make the most of it to make it a 3-point hand and to win the match off of it.
That's right. And I think, yeah, I mean, I'll bring Vlow into the chat, but I think that the Queen was kind of the anti Vlow for this entire match. The first match where he had to he had it used and he wasn't able to flip and use his Fool. All the different times where he was just unable to use his cards because of the Queen. Again, it's like oil and water sometimes. So let's see if we can pull Vlow into here. And yeah, I mean, that just kind of that happened pretty quickly. I think
it happened. Well, what's interesting, both of these players play extremely fast, and to the point
they
where
figure out the
commentators, we were having a hard time keeping up because their line play is extremely fast. Their computational speed on what's possible is extremely fast, and you could tell the pivotal moments because it's the one turn in the game where instead of whipping through, they were digging in.
Vlow.
Vlow.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
Whew. I just went through quite the beating.
Well, we were saying it was just kind of a crazy. Both of you would take times to think about things and then just boo, 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 boo. In fact, I think Dan at one point was just doing a play-by-play as you guys were playing. So I think there was some high-level thought processes there. I have to start with the first question, which is that last game. We got double royalty and a warlord, right? Warlord's kind of unknown. I'll let you walk us through what you're thinking there.
Okay, so back to what you just said when you're thinking and then we go boom, 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 boom. I was doing that. I was like, oh sweet, this is like a quick boom, 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 boom. So literally, I thought I had it 100%. I didn't see it. So when so I knew there was a risk of the Oathbound and then Inquisitor, and I thought he was going to go for something like the Assassin. And I was like, I'm going to just play the Sentry, get the Assassin back, right? Play that kind of game. But then he did the Elder. And what I thought, I was like, oh, he's being desperate. So he's like, I'm going to get rid of his Elder, hoping that he got rid of the other Elder. So now I could just beat him with Royalty. So he plays the Royalty, the Princess after. I was like, awesome. Flip. And I'm like, sweet. Now I have an Elder in my hand. Then he plays the Queen. I'm like, okay, this is a very straightforward Elder. And then when he played the Warlord and everything flipped, I thought I won. I actually thought I won. I thought, for some reason, I thought he flipped the King and automatically Assassin. I was like, cool. And then I looked at the score. I'm like, 7-2. Wait, what? What just happened? And I'm like, oh, yeah. No. So it caught me off guard so badly.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, as I was saying, the Warlord is kind of underplayed, and so when it does actually come out like that, the other thing that was really interesting is that you played a soldier, you nailed it at the beginning. He then oathbound into Inquisitor, so he got your Elder with the oathbound Inquisitor, which means that even if you were going to try to King's Hand the Inquisitor, you didn't have that ability.
Damn.
So,
Damn.
so I mean, it's just amazing foresight, I think, from Papaya's play.
Very good. And we talked about it just before I jumped on too, because I was like, okay, what could I have done differently? I was like, oh, what if I did the soldier and say like assassin? Keep it as a 5 so you can't play oathbound. And he's like, well, then I play my other oathbound. You have to play like a 7 or 8, and I oathbound and quiz and do the same thing. So he's like, no matter what, man, you're dead. I was like, oh.
Well, that's it. I thought the same thing. I thought that Papaya had made a mistake to go after Elder because you had the other one. You logically looked at that. But, Papaya had spotted the fact that he had the perfect hand for the Warlord because he had both Oathbounds, he had both Royalty, and he had the Zealot. So the only countermeasure you had for the buffed Warlord was the King Flip. And the whole thing was just forcing out that King Flip to do the buffed Warlord, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to look at this hand. I think we all will look at this hand. I mean, if there's a Mystic into a 7 somewhere in there, I don't know. Like, it's just it just kind of came out real fast. So
Exactly. And the thing is, like, he forced every hand after that. And no matter what I played at the beginning, he forced my hand. So it was actually very, very clever play by Papaya. Very clever.
awesome. Well, unfortunately, we won't be able to see you rest of the tournament as this was the knockout round. But it was a pleasure seeing you play. It's always wonderful to have you on camera. Is there anything you want to say to anyone, or any final words?
No, I just good luck to Papaya. I hope he makes it far after this. And then I'm looking forward to the next tournament.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vlow. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, Vlow.
Boy, again,
If
hate
I were Vlow in the same spot, I would have been thinking the same thing because I didn't see the Warlord coming either. I would have thought, this is played the way I wanted. I'm set up against the Royalty. That's what I was worried about. Boy, and it just like that, like lightning, boom, it just came out. Boy, what it tears your guts out at the end. But Vlow did an incredible tournament, just really wonderful. I was I think in his group play. He beat me in the group play, knocked me to the lower bracket, and I gotta say he's a heck of a competitor, and really excited to see him back in Imposter King Stadium at the next tournament.
Dan, remember what I said at the beginning of that round? I said maybe you disgrace your soldier after hitting it. I don't know. You disgrace your soldier. You got yourself a Mystic play. That's all I'm saying.
Mysticking 7s. That
Yeah.
would be
Top tier play right here.
One of the great things about the new client is that now the data exists to be able to analyze things. And I'll tell you, of all the games that are played and on record, I would love to see if 7s have ever been mysticked. The games have been played to date. It wouldn't surprise me if it has not happened yet.
It is likely not happened. I'll take a look.
As a result of this game, the game that we just witnessed, all of a sudden I think that's in the meta now.
Greetings, Papaya.
Hey. Is my microphone working this time?
It is working.
Yep, we can hear
Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
We were just talking to Vlow about how both of you were just kind of, there's parts where you just kind of thought through your lines and that's just like pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And the surprise of that last game, I think a lot of people were surprised along with Vlow himself. How fast were you able to pick up that line?
I was from the very start looking at, okay, how do I deal with the assassin here? He's got King's Hand Assassin. I've only got one way of dealing with the assassin, which is going to get King's Handed. So I have to look at Oathbound into Inquisitor, but all of a sudden I'm committing so many resources into Oathbound Inquisitor that I think I'm just destined to lose that hand if I'm going there. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, wait a second. What if I pull the Elder? And I'm like, then I play a Royal, and he has to flip or play an Elder. And if he plays the Elder, I play Warlord, which he has to flip on, then I play a Royal and he dies. Or he flips on the first Royal, and I play another Royal, he has to play Elder, and then I play a Warlord and he dies. It's like, oh, that seems pretty good. And
It
the
seems
only
pretty
way,
good.
right? The only way he gets out of that hand, not getting 3-pointed, is if he successored an elder and there was a discarded elder. And I don't see any world where he successors his only elder, and it's like, I guess it's technically possible, but it seems very unlikely that he wouldn't have an elder in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that he doesn't have any royals, and he likely saw an elder, and would expect me to be targeting his either King's Hand or Assassin.
Interesting. So what you're saying is
So,
that if he actually got rid of his elder, it would have been more beneficial to him?
Possibly. Because then my Inquisitor misses...
Yeah,
Actually, no.
We've been thinking a lot about this, and as I was mentioning, there's quite a lot of different thoughts here.
And actually, no, I don't even think that gets him out of it, because then I know he doesn't have an elder in hand. I play a royal. He flips, gets an elder to hand. I play another royal. He plays the elder, and I play the warlord.
So here's my
he was
newest
just
line,
doomed there.
Papaya. You're gonna love this, and it's
Yeah.
very, very badly established. He hits
Okay.
that soldier. He disgraces it, and then you play whatever you play. He has the ability to mystic into sevens, or even in
Oh,
that case
wow.
where he misses the elder, he mystics into sevens.
Yeah.
It's Simbu and I were just joking about the fact that probably in all the games that have been played on the new Imposter Kings client, Mystic has not been deployed on sevens once. But you know, this was exactly it, and you spotted it. I mean, what was the match-winning realization was right. You had the perfect hand for the Warlord to be the winning card, the dominant card in that hand. You had both Oathbounds, you had the Zealot, you had both Royalty. There's no better situation to be laying down the Warlord as the hammer to win the game there.
That's right.
Yeah. That is crazy. That's the one I didn't think of, because I was looking at it. If he just soldiers and misses, he doesn't. I just play Oathbound. He has to play a 7, and then I play other Oathbound Inquisitor, and thing repeats.
Right.
Yeah, soldier disgracing itself was his win condition. Wow.
So don't give me too much credit. We'll have to go through the line. But I think one other game I just want to bring up was there's that one game where I think it was you had the princess, the Oathbound, and the fool, and he had the assassin, the zealot, and he had 2 other cards. He had another Oathbound and a soldier.
It ended up
as well.
being Mystic. I think there was Mystic as well.
Mystic soldier, yeah. So what was interesting is that I was actually going through that entire line, and I was like, at this point, if he plays it out the best way possible, he's going to lose 2 points. So he's going to have to start making assumptions. Papaya's going to have to start making assumptions of what's being thrown away. And you took a little bit of time on that turn. Was that exactly what was kind of going on in your head? Were you trying to figure out?
Yeah. So the gamble on that line was I needed him not to have the Oathbound, either to have discarded or been tossed away. And then the goal was to try and strand him with Fool and Assassin in hand to where he wouldn't be able to play.
Right.
Because I was assuming he would follow up with Elder there, which actually I guess I needed Mystic and Oathbound to be out.
Right.
Because then I would have to play an Oathbound or whatever he gives me. I was assuming he would give me a 5. And the goal would just be to try and have bigger numbers at that point. Because the goal is to have him keep the Elder, keep the Assassin, stick him with the Fool, and then just have him not be able to get over my numbers.
Right.
Because there was no way I was ever able to flip that game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where I was hoping, because as you said, I was in a very bad spot there.
A lot of assassins in Imposter King Stadium today. So
yeah.
But anyways, you won. Congratulations. You'll be going up against Yeti to see who gets to play against Goose and finally the kid. Do you have anything that you want to say or any shout outs?
No, not right off. I'm just happy to be here.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Congrats, Papaya.
Bye.
But there you have it, Sinbu. One heck of a match.
And as I said before,
lower bracket all set.
Papaya, super analytical player. It's going to be really exciting to see if he can kind of maneuver through those lines again. He was able to find something pretty crazy, I got to say. So it'll be, next up, it's going to be the semifinals, the lower bracket semifinals between Yeti and Papaya. I can't stop speaking the wrong names. But those two will be up head to head. And whoever wins that match will be going to the lower bracket finals with Goose.
Yeah, there are 3 matches left in this tournament. So there's the lower bracket semifinals. So that's going to be between who you just mentioned. So that's going to be
Yeti and Papaya.
Papaya and Yeti. That's right. And then the lower bracket finals, which will be between the winner of that match and Goose. And then the winner of the lower bracket finals goes to the finals, the tournament finals, the Royal Rumble finals, which will be between the Kid and the winner of that match between Goose and either Yeti and Papaya. So 4 players still with a shot to win this tournament, but we are in the home stretch. And Simbu, what are your thoughts having seen so much Imposter Kings played at a really high level so far?
I just can't wait to see the games. You know, everyone has such a unique play style and such a unique way to go about the game. So can't wait to see. You know, as a lot of players have mentioned recently, you know, it's part of it is the mentality of the game, and sometimes you get dealt bad hands, sometimes you get dealt good hands. How do you maximize and minimize your losses, maximize your wins, minimize your losses, just like the Kid did in his showcase game up in the upper bracket. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, who's going to prevail, and I think it's going to have to do a lot with mentality here. So we'll see everyone next week as we continue our Royal Rumble. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Simbu. See you later, folks.
Stay royal.